Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Already, I don't know how this video is going to turn out. Let's just see where it goes, shall we? But today is the day. Today is the day that the Doctor regenerates. Whittaker's incarnation, at least. What they are going to regenerate into, we don't quite know yet. I mean, we know who the next main Doctor is going to be, which is Ncuti Gatwa, but we don't know whether or not she's going to regenerate into him, or whether or not she's going to regenerate into David Tennant, because David Tennant's in the 60th, or whether or not we're not even going to see. We're just going to see a regeneration occur, and then the cliffhanger is we have to wait to the 60th. And I say cliffhanger very loosely, because this is where I think the video is going to get very weird very quickly. I don't care. But you're making a video about it, so you've got to care. This is where it gets weird. I'm kind of making a video on why I don't care. Obviously, when Whittaker took over, to say it divided the fan base would be incorrect. Because when you split something down the middle, you have 50% on one side, 50% on the other, or there or thereabouts. But Whittaker took over to near 11 million people who wanted to see the first female incarnation of the Doctor. And it ended with a special doing 2-point-something million. That's not dividing your fan base. That is alienating your fan base. That is getting rid of your fan base. Nobody, I use the broad term, nobody cares anymore. And that's my problem. Once upon a time during Whittaker's run, where I was very passionate about Doctor Who because I'd loved it for so long and it played such a major part in my upbringing with science fiction and my love of science fiction. And one of my earliest TV recollections from being a child is watching Tom Baker as Doctor Who. That was my first Doctor, and arguably the greatest Doctor of all time. And then, of course, you know, we went through the Baron patch once it was cancelled, and we only got the attempted reboot by America, which didn't go anywhere with the McGann film. And then Russell T Davies comes along and brings Doctor Who back in such spectacular fashion, you couldn't help but fall in love with it. You couldn't help but be mesmerized by the performances of Eccleston and Tennant and Smith and Capaldi. Incredible actors. Nobody knew that such a young man, and I don't say this patronizing, Matt Smith, 26-year-old when he was announced as the Doctor, would turn out to be such an incredible actor. And he's only just starting now to really get his dues with House of the Dragon. David Tennant took the Doctor to unknown heights, unreachable heights, heights now that we can't see because of how far it's fallen. And Eccleston really gave the Doctor that gravitas, that brokenness that Russell T Davies wanted to bring alongside of it, while still having that wonderful mischievous side, wonderful elements of comedy at times as well, or at least levity, let's say, instead of comedy. And they were all really, really well supported by an incredible cast of companions, from Billie Piper as Rose, Freema Agyeman as of course Martha. We got Amy Pond, we had Rory, and even Clara, before they started to mess around with the BBC's agenda, which is tragic because all of this was so well crafted, so well put together by Russell T Davies and Moffat, Stephen Moffat, that when Whittaker came along with Chibnall, with their politics, their ideology, with their attitude, with their hatred, with their discriminatory talk, with their misandry, with their anti-white sentiment, the whole job lot, it just showed exactly how far not just the Doctor had fallen, but the BBC. Hence why I have this BBC article up, even though I'm not going to be referring to it. Even the BBC had fallen. It had fallen to a plague of ideological shite. And that wonderful, incredible madman with a box was no longer a madman with a box. They were an intersectional feminist with no empathy whatsoever that would look at a man who was pouring his heart out about his fear of cancer returning and just say, I got nothing to say to you. I should have, but I don't, because I am socially awkward. So I'm just going to move over here, and in a few minutes' time, I'll probably think of something that I should have said. Absolutely, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in Doctor Who. Ever seen in Doctor Who. It wasn't funny. It was callous. It was in poor taste. And it was completely antithetical to what the Doctor stands for and who the Doctor is. But that's just the point. Whittaker's Doctor is not the Doctor. They never acted like the Doctor. They never had any compassion for their companions. Everything was superficial. There was no depth whatsoever. She didn't care about them. She didn't care what they got up to. She didn't care if they were dead or alive. It was the Doctor. It was as if we were watching the Master almost at times. This creature devoid of empathy. This creature full of male hatred, full of anger and against good people who couldn't see the good in them, could only see the far left ideological position of the BBC in them. And so, of course, I did get angry. I did get mad. I did get very frustrated with this. And I ended up I gave up after 2 episodes of Whittaker's start. The first 2 episodes were incredibly boring. The setup the very loose setup that they did in the first episode, they contradicted immediately in the second episode. I knew that we were going to go on a terrible journey. And then my audience asked me to watch her second season. So I still haven't seen the rest of her first season, nor will I ever, by the way. So I picked up from Spyfall, and it was dreadful. And it led all the way to that Timeless Children, the episode which forever would destroy Doctor Who. And the BBC was so proud of themselves for destroying Doctor Who. They were so proud of themselves for destroying the history of Doctor Who. They were so proud of themselves for getting rid of the whiteness that they attached to Doctor Who, because they can only now see superficial skin color. They can no longer see the wonderful man, because the Doctor is a man. The wonderful man that the Doctor was. They couldn't see the wonderful stories and journeys that the Doctor had been on, that everybody, no matter whether you're a man or a woman, a child, whether you were black, white, Asian, from Botswana, from outer Mongolia, and maybe even South America and Greenland, the Inuits of Greenland, that it didn't matter where you came from. The Doctor would always exude those traits which everybody could recognize, those human traits, those empathetic traits, the desire to do good, the desire to help, that people, no matter where they came from or who they were, could gravitate towards and understand. And so I was mad. I was very mad. I'd have my rants. I'd have my screams and my shouts. But when Russell T Davies was announced to be returning, there was a glimmer of hope that Doctor Who would be saved. A glimmer of hope that Russell T Davies would return the Doctor back to its glory days. And that help was very quickly expunged when the very bizarre announcement of Ncuti Gatwa as the next Doctor, we were greeted with interviews that were just on an ideological level. Ncuti Gatwa fumbling over themselves to try and give the Doctor they, them pronouns. Russell T Davies talking about my conservatives bad, my government bad, my ideological this. Casting an 18-year-old inverted commas trans, because I think it's I just think there's that word's almost meaningless now. I think there's an industry that is taking advantage of this ideological position to get themselves work. And if you're 18 years old and you're playing that game, I ain't got any time for it. I don't know whether it's you yourself or whether or not you've been coerced, groomed, whatever you want to call it, down a pathway. But it looks like the ideological journey that Russell T Davies has really been pushing down the last decade or so is going to come into full effect with the Ncuti Gatwa Doctor. And so any glimmer of hope was extinguished. And now I am literally apathetic to this. The opposite of love isn't hatred, it's apathy. Because when you're mad, when you're angry, and I've had plenty of rants and raves, goodness knows you've witnessed and seen them, folks. But when you're mad, you care. It's when I used to do my World of Warcraft content. I used to rant and rave all the time because I loved the game. I loved what the game used to be. I loved what the community was. I loved just the whole aspect of it. And I just saw it going down a terrible pathway. And lo and behold, it turned out to be right. And so now I don't even care about World of Warcraft. All that anger's gone. All that ranting and raving's gone. I don't care. Apathy set in. And I feel this way for Doctor Who. And I've got to do a stream tonight with Gary. I love Gary to pieces. He's my ride or die. And I'm just thinking to myself, when I'm watching this episode tonight, will it stir any emotion in me? Because right now, just a few hours removed from the Doctor regenerating, I don't care. I don't. There's nothing. I'm empty inside. I'm hollow. And how do you discuss and how do you talk about an episode or a show that you just are no longer attached to? The BBC have done an incredible job of not making me hate Doctor Who. I know that's what they want. They want you to hate the history of Doctor Who. They want you to hate William Hartnell. They want you to hate Tom Baker. They want you to hate Sylvester McCoy. No. I love them. I love the old Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who, even New Who, all the way through to Capaldi. He was struggling with some terrible scripts, but Capaldi is such an incredible actor. To me, he absolutely exemplified everything about the Doctor and had some incredible moments. So I'm okay up till there. But from this and here on in, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's sad. But that's the BBC, and that's what the BBC's done. And this is why I am fully behind defunding the BBC. I don't think the BBC should be allowed to create any sort of content off the off the taxing of the British public, because they don't serve the British public. They serve their own ideological ideas. And that's it. And so tonight, this picture, you can see the Doctor's about to regenerate. This might be that point. This might be a fake out here. Who knows? But even if we get to this point, I don't care. I don't care whatever she turns into, whether it be Tennant, whether it be Ncuti Gatwa. I don't care about her pathetic non-love story with Yaz, because they've done nothing to make those two characters feel like they even like each other. Never mind are in love with each other. I don't care that Russell T Davies is taking over. I don't care about the 60th anniversary. I don't care about Ncuti Gatwa. I don't care about the stories which Russell T Davies again has said, oh, I want to talk about climate change and all this. Like, oh, fuck off. Because we've heard it all before. Stop lecturing. Return to entertainment. But here we go. Like I said, there's about 6 hours from the recording of this video until the episode starts. So about 7.5 hours until they regenerate. I don't care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.